Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Taco Tall Tales. It's not a Tuesday, it's Wednesday morning, but it's how we are able to fit it in with our next guest on episode 5. It is my dear friend, Rear Admiral, retired Ronny Jackson, who I served with over in Iraq in 2005 and 2006. Let me tell you what, if you got shot, wounded, hurt at all, this is the guy that you wanted operating on you. And he's gone from Iraq to the White House, and now he's running for Congress to represent Texans. He's an outstanding individual, and I'd like to give you a big round of applause as I bring on Ronny Jackson. Ronny, how are you, sir?
Hey, Taco, what's up, man? Great to be here. How you doing?
Good. Where are you?
I'm in Dallas, Texas, man. I'm up here helping out, trying to do a little bit for some of the other candidates here.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Fantastic. Good job, sir. November. Well, actually, let's go back 15 years. You and I meet, and you're my running buddy. And I got to tell you that I never felt safer when we go around that back stretch where Habanilla, where that sniper would shoot at us.
Yeah,
and if I ever got wounded, I figured who better to have with me but the doc, you know?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I went on a run and somebody took a shot at me, but yeah.
I get on the airplane every day and people go, "How you doing, Captain?" I go, "I'm doing great. Nobody's shooting at me. Life's good. 6 feet above ground, man."
Right.
But I was thinking about you last night. I was watching you on Fox, and people don't realize, it wasn't MASH. You guys weren't MASH. You all were 24/7 operating on guys. As a pilot, we keep a logbook. Did you ever keep a logbook, sort of? Do you have like a logbook where you know how many Marines and soldiers you saved?
I didn't. I should have. I should have just kept something on a personal level, but we did keep that as a unit. So we entered that stuff into the data, collection system that the Navy and Marine Corps was using at the time. So it's out there on the number of patients we saw and who we saw, and what the outcome, to the extent that we could find out. A lot of times we didn't know what happened to people when they left, to be honest with you, because we patched them up, got them on a helicopter, got them to Baghdad. And, a lot of times we didn't really know. It was hard sometimes to find out if they lived or died, it's just the way it was. But yeah, we tracked them. But I wish I would have taken, I wish honestly, throughout my entire career, I wish I would have kept just a little bit of a diary or something, just to jot a few things down, like maybe one thing that happened every day that was significant or something. But I'm just not that kind of person. I've never done it. And so, if I had, I think it would be cool to go back and look at now. But, I've forgotten a lot of stuff. I have people tell me stories every now and then about something I did. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, I totally forgot about that. I forgot that even happened, So,
well, it's funny because my grandfather was a surgeon in World War II in Guadalcanal and Okinawa. So he was on USS Mugford, a little tin can destroyer operating on Marines coming back from the beach. And they would tell stories when he was the chief surgeon at Paris Island. Marines would come up, knock on the door, and my mom would answer the door, and they go, "Is your daddy Commander McCampbell?" "Yes." "Give him this. It's a present from Gunny so-and-so. He was a drill instructor." And it'd be like a case of whiskey because he'd operated on him, and the guy remembered his name, So I guarantee you, a lot of guys out there that remember Ronny Jackson, or they found out later, Ronny Jackson's the guy that saved my life, It's got to make you feel good.
Yeah, no, I think that was a very it was difficult to be there and see those those young men injured the way they were. Literally arms and legs blown off, eviscerations, horrible burns from head to toe. It was hard to see that, but it was also satisfying to be there to do something about it. And you felt like you were actually making a difference. You really did.
Yeah, I think in that time, 05, we were probably losing 1 to 3 guys every other day. But I mean, that's not something that we put out because that was a morale booster for the bad guys. But, I look back on it and I just think it didn't matter whether it was an enemy combatant or a U.S. Wounded service member. Your team took care of everybody and did just a phenomenal job. So, had all the use, sir.
One thing I always tell people I remember is I distinctly remember, when we were first out there, initially we had the Army National Guard out there that was kind of running everything, and then we showed up with the Marines, I was out there with 2nd Marines. Obviously we showed up and for a while, the Army guys were still there transitioning. They'd bring us, the guys that they captured and stuff, and getting ready to send them off to, to the prison or whatever. We'd take care of them beforehand, if they were seriously injured. I do remember, I tell people all the time, I remember when the Marines showed up, they just stopped coming. They didn't bring us any. They didn't bring us any, captured people. They just, it was just everybody was taken care of,
I remember when you invited me in for a surgery, I thought it was going to be cold inside an operating room. And in fact, it was really hot. I remember, what do I wear? Wear shorts and a t-shirt, because it was really warm in there. It was probably 90 degrees inside.
Yeah.
In the conditions you guys were in operating on, folks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and like I said, it was great to be there. It was part of the Marine Corps. It was fantastic. And like I said, I'm not kidding around. Those guys learned early on. You don't shoot at those guys in the digital camis because they shoot back.
Oh yeah. All right. So how do you go from Iraq to the White House?
Well, I tell people all the time, a lot of it's being in the right place at the right time, just to be honest with you. I didn't really know how the whole process worked. You remember you were out there when I was going through it, and I had no idea that job even existed, for the most part. And I certainly didn't know that they needed an emergency medicine doc there. But it turns out at the time they had 6 physicians there, 2 Army, 2 Navy, 2 Air Force. They were all internal medicine and family practice docs. And they decided at the White House they needed an emergency medicine physician. And they wanted somebody that was roughly my rank. They wanted somebody that was like an 04, 05. In that rank. I was an 04 at the time. And so my specialty leader, the guy that controls, where I live, where my family lives, where what job I have, all that kind of stuff. He threw my name in the hat without even really letting me know. And so I got nominated for the job without even really knowing I was being nominated. And then I don't know if you remember or not, but I pulled up my email one day that I hadn't checked in a long time from my other account, and there was a bunch of stuff on there. Hey, I need your last 6 fitness reports, your official photo, your security information, your CV, your personal statement, just a list of stuff 10 miles long they wanted from me. By the time I saw it, I had like 5 days to get it in. So I wasn't going to really, I wasn't going to do it. I was like, well, there's no way I can get this done. I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. So I called my wife that night. I was telling her about it, and she's like, well, go. She goes, you should go ahead and do it. And I was like, Jane, it's a waste of time. I said, everybody's going to have a nice squared away package. I'm going to have this pile of garbage. It's just going to be a waste of time. I'm not going to, I'm not going to be competitive.
Iraq, man, what do they expect? Come on.
Yeah. I know, but so anyways, I jumped through a bunch of hoops and ginned up a bunch of stuff electronically out there. I remember I was getting my official photo taken in front of a HESCO barrier. Jane was digging stuff out of the filing cabinet and sending it to him, faxing it to him, But anyways, I got it all in by the deadline, and then I didn't hear anything for about 2.5 months, not a single word. And I remember, I kind of stopped thinking about it. I thought, well, somebody else already got the job. I just haven't heard about it, because I'd called, tried to check on it a few times. Nobody really knew what was going on. So I thought somebody else already got it. And then sure enough, about 2.5 months into it, I pull that, I get online, I check that email again, and there's an email in there saying, hey, you've been selected as one of 3 people to interview for the job at the White House. And I was like, man, I was like, I can't, it's pretty awesome I made it this far, but this is where the road ends. There's no way I'm going to be in DC in 5 days. But then you guys jumped through some hoops and pulled some strings for me, and it's good to know the air boss. And you guys lined me up at the flight, and I ran out to. I remember I ran back, packed my sea bag, went out to the flight line, got on a helicopter, flew to Baghdad, got to Baghdad, got on a C-5 cargo plane full of broken helicopters, flew back to Cherry Point, North Carolina, got there, jumped in my rental car, drove to Virginia Beach, where I was living at the time. We were running out there all the time. I was running 6 to 12 miles a day when we weren't getting casualties. I was supposed to be at the White House the next day to interview for that job. And I'd lost 40 pounds in Iraq. I mean, I had no clothes that fit.
I remember you asking, I'm like, go to Men's Warehouse or whatever. Just get a suit made in one day,
Well, remember we used to have that. We used to have a trailer out in the back, like a Connex box out in the back that had uniforms in it, right? Because when we'd get casualties that would come in, we'd cut their uniforms off, because they're seriously injured. We have to cut their uniforms off to resuscitate them, and so we had a trailer out there with a bunch of a bunch of our Marine Corps uniforms in them, to give to these guys so they could have something to wear after we took care of them. And I remember for like 2 months I had to go to that trailer like every week or two and get a new uniform, because my uniform wouldn't fit anymore. I had to trade it in for a smaller one. But anyways, I was in a scramble. So my wife and I ran down to the men's warehouse, bought a brand new suit because I was supposed to interview 2 days in a business suit and 1 day in a uniform. We ran down
Right.
there, bought a new suit, kind of gave them my sob story, begged them to help me kind of tailor it and get it ready to go. They did. I brought my uniform in. They helped me with that. Then I got back in my rental car and drove to DC, interviewed for the job for 3 days. At the end of the 3 days, they told me I got the job. I got back on a plane, flew back to Iraq, finished my tour there for the next 4 months, and then came straight from Iraq to the White House. And that was in early 2006.
So how was it? How was it being the White House doctor traveling around? My old boss, General Whistler, was the mill aide, one of the mill aides back in for Bush 1, and
That's right.
And he did President Bush, and then he did 2 years with President Clinton. And I remember he goes, no matter the politics, what politics side you fall on, when you meet the president, you're meeting the most powerful man in the world, and it's just kind of neat. But he was telling us stories about the leadership styles and differences and things like that. But then the one thing that stuck out in my mind was when he would go to a political event, and the next morning he reads the newspaper and he goes, that's not at all what happened. Do you witness that a lot? Did you see that a lot between all three, President Bush, President Obama, and President Trump?
Oh yeah, I see. You see that. You do see that a lot. That's just unfortunately the way it is. But speaking of General Whistler, I'll tell you right off the bat, like he's a real big reason why I ended up being able to get the job. You asked me how I got there, and I told you being in the right place at the right time. But what I tell people sometimes is, it's more than that. It's having a few people around you, that see opportunity that you can't see for yourself, that want to see you succeed, but don't have anything to gain from your success. And that's how General Whistler was. He had been a military aide for Bush 41. He knew what opportunity I was being given. He'd worked with the doc, side by side for a few years, and he'd lived it. I didn't really even know what the job entailed, but he knew it was a unique opportunity for me. He wanted to make sure that I got the opportunity to compete for that job. And between you and him getting me back to DC and making sure that I could do that, that's just, like I said, having the right people in the right place that want to take care of you. So I always be indebted to you guys.
Oh yeah, anytime, man, always. When I was in Afghanistan, I was walking around the corner at the embassy, and I literally ran into President Obama. Boy, he was Senator Obama at the time. And as I cut the corner, I wasn't paying attention, and I ran into him. Bumped him, and the Secret Service dude was standing there, and I'm like, "Oh, sorry, Senator Obama, how are you?" And he was sitting there smoking a cigarette. They wouldn't let him smoke upstairs in the thing. And he goes, "Well, don't tell Michelle that I'm back smoking again." And I'm like, "Well, I'll have one with you." So was he as bad a smoker as he was in Afghanistan, or did he finally give it up?
No, he smoked when he got to the White House. I mean, that's pretty much common knowledge, but he quit smoking quick. I mean, he really did. I mean, he realized right off the bat, it'd be better for his health, and, just better in a lot of ways to stop. So, we were pretty aggressive in trying to help him out, get him some nicotine gum and all these other things, whatever,
Right.
but he was aggressive about trying to quit, and he quit quick. There was no real, I mean, when he quits, because you're walking around with the Secret Service earpiece in, and they're calling out every movement he makes, and you can hear every time he goes out to smoke a cigarette, it gets called out over the radio. Not like that, they don't say those words, but
Right.
what's going on. And then when that stops, then then he's not smoking anymore. And so
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. But
So
no,
what's your favorite memory of being in the White House?
I don't know. I think I think just hanging out, in the residence with all the Secret Service guys, and all the other folks from the White House military office, just the family that was there, and being part of that
Yeah.
family, and and then every now and then just realizing that you're part of that family, but you just stop and recalibrate, and you look around and you're like, wow, but look where this family exists. You know what I mean? I'm not talking
Right.
about the first family. I'm talking about the family that that you develop, with the other folks that are taking care of the president like you are. That's the real family for me that I miss.
Did you know Dan Bongino? Did you know him when you were up there?
Oh, yeah, I know Dan well. Yeah, Dan and I worked together. We traveled all over the world together. Yeah,
that is just so cool.
Yeah.
Well, tell everybody that's listening, what's your plans? What's going on? Because it's kind of early, so this will get shared, and people will pick it up. You're running for 13th district up here in North Texas. And What are you going to do? What are your plans up in D.C.? Because you're not a career politician.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I got in the race for the right reasons. I got in the race because I'm somewhat disgusted with what's going on in our country, and it sounds cliche, but I'm worried about my kids and my grandkids in the future. We're going to leave them, so I'm running in the 13th Congressional District. I had a hard-fought primary race. There were 15 Republicans in the race, 3 Democrats, and Libertarians. So there's like 19 people running, but 15 of them were Republicans. And we had a primary election. I got into the runoff. The top 2 of us did. Then we had a runoff election. I won that runoff election on 14 July. And I'm the Republican nominee now in the number 1 most conservative district in the entire United States. The district I am is number 1 in the entire U.S. So it's a staunchly red district. It's Trump country. I love it up there. They're my people. That's where I grew up. I was born and raised up in that area. And so I'm excited about representing my district. I'm excited about working hard every day to defend our Texas values. And then I'm going to get up to D.C. and I'm going to work hard to make a difference, not just for our district, but for my country. And, I'm going to be on the Ag Committee, I hope, and I'm going to be on Armed Services, those 2 committees that I want to get on. I think I can do a lot of good on both those committees. Ag is really important to my district. And then I'm going to get up there and I'm going to work hard to change the culture in this country. I feel like we have an entire generation of youth right now that just they don't want to be Americans. They think this is a bad place to live. They think there are better places to live. And as well as I do, I've been to 120 different countries since I've been in the military, and I know you've traveled all over the world too. And I can tell you firsthand, no better place to live than right here in the United States. But we've lost a whole generation on that front. So I want to find a way to reestablish that, to get that back, to make people patriotic again and proud to be Americans.
You're watching the confirmations for SCOTUS for what you went through when you were going up against to apply for the VA. I know you feel for her because you've been in that hot seat that she's in right now up there. What's it going to be like sitting on the other side? Are you ever going to pull a couple of those people aside and go, I just want to let you know how you made me feel when I was up here? I mean, I hope so. I hope you get a little, get to say a little something back to some people nicely.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I mean, there's some people up there that generally are not good people. They have no business running our country. They have no business being in the Senate or the House. And a lot of them, you can see what they're doing to Judge Barrett, what they did to Kavanaugh, what they did to me, what they've done to multiple people. And I was one of the first ones that they ever turned on. I was kind of the warm up. I was kind of the pregame for all of it, but they're nasty people that really have no morals. And they just there's no limit to what they'll do, to promote themselves and keep themselves in power. It's pretty disgusting. It's one of the reasons I'm up there. So I'm going to do everything I can to clean that place up. I mean, it really is a swamp and a sewer, and we really got to fix it, or we're going to lose this country.
Well, they've got AOC in the squad. Are you and Dan and everybody going to be the platoon? Are you guys going to be the platoon? What, you got to come out with something snazzy, I hope.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to work on it. We're going to make sure the Texas delegation is well represented and strong and really influential. So, we'll get up there. We're going to be a counter to all that garbage for sure.
Oh, that is awesome. I wish I was up there with you, brother. Hey, I can't appreciate, thank you so much, Ronny. I appreciate your time, valuable time this morning, because I know you probably have a couple, 5 more interviews lined up in the next 20 minutes. So, sir, I can't thank you enough. I wish you the best. Give Jane a hug for me, and we will see you in Congress with the platoon. And if you ever need any armor, you call, I haul, man. I'll bring that stuff up there for you in a heartbeat. We'll have
all right
tanks for Ronny or something,
All right, sounds good, Taco. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right, have a good one, sir. Hoorah.
All right, you too. All right, hoorah.
Have a great day. Thanks. Let me fix this. And guys, that was Ronny Jackson. I don't know if you have watched him on the news. He is the most down-to-earth guy that you could ever meet. Ronny and I were sitting there talking in Iraq, and he pulls up this email when he was talking about getting invited. And I said, man, we'll make this happen. But before he left, I go, dude, you got it. Don't worry about it. You're from Texas. President Bush is from Texas. You guys, he's going to hear your twang. He's going to love you. And sure enough, there he goes, man. Right on, skyrockets up to the atmosphere, and it does great things. So I'm looking forward to seeing Ronny Jackson, Dan Crenshaw, and all the military folks that we have in Texas go up to the Capitol and take over that place, man. I want to see the platoon. And what makes me more proud about Ronny doing this is the fact that I'm a Marine, but I'm chicken. You know what? If I got to sit there and deal with all the negative stuff that people would say about my service or me, I'd punch somebody in the face, and I just can't handle that. Whereas Ronny's a lot more professional than I am, or I could ever be, and he represents the armed services well. So if you have a chance to throw $5, $10, $20, anything towards Ronny's election, please do it to help him out. It would be greatly appreciated for all the Republicans and for all the folks that are conservative minded here in North Texas. Please help Ronny Jackson out. Once again, I want to thank Ronny Jackson. I want to thank Caroline and everybody that helped me get this interview set up. And you guys go forth and do great things, sir. Until the next time, everyone have a great day. Remember, wherever you go, there you are. And another Tall Tales with Taco. Oh, I didn't get to do a Tall Tales yesterday, but this is kind of funny. You know, we're wearing a mask, and I'm on the train around DFW, and I have a mask on. And my flight attendant gets on, and he is at the other end of the train, and I'm sitting at the other end. And just jokingly, I go, his name is Joe, and I go, "Hey, Joe!" And this dude, who was about 6'3", standing in kind of in front of Joe, looks up at me, and his eyes under the mask get real big, and he goes, "Hey, man!" He grabs a suitcase and pulls it all the way over to me and starts talking to me. And I think it was about 30 seconds when the guy realized he doesn't know me. He's looking down at my name tag, Captain Mitch Bell. And it's starting to dawn on him. He doesn't know me. And I look down at his suitcase and I see his name tag says Joe Johnson. But he's military, so obviously he thinks we know each other from somewhere. He sees my military stuff. But that was actually kind of funny because he got off the tram. He asked for my business card. I mean, he's like, "Hey, so what's going on?" "Oh, retired in 2015, just been flying. And, what are you doing? And where you been?" And I'm just asking him open-ended questions. So he's just chattering. And I think when he got off, it dawned on him, I really don't know this guy. Anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. I forgot to ask Ronny about the mask. That was one thing that God dang it, I wanted to ask him about the effectiveness of mask. And you know what? Wait a minute. Ronny, are you still here? Do you want to answer a question about mask? Hold on a second. You are still here. Hey.
Yeah, I'm still watching. Yeah.
I'm going to ask, mask, how effective are they? Or have we just crippled ourselves and we walk around like a bunch of, like when I fly to Beijing or Shanghai, everyone wears a mask. And for that, it was for pollution. But now we're walking around like a bunch of zombies with masks on. And I've got to sit in the back of the airplane sometimes for 3 or 4 hours, which I know you do too. You got to wear a mask. Yeah. How effective as a physician do you think masks are? It's a controversial topic.
It is controversial. And I get drug over the coals all the time by my colleagues, in medicine because of my stance on masks. But I'm totally against a mask mandate. I think that the U.S. government, the local government, does not have the right to tell me as a healthy, asymptomatic person that I have to wear a mask when I'm walking down the street or I'm going to get fined or put in jail. That's ridiculous. That's un-American and that's unconstitutional. They don't have that right. So I'm totally against mask mandates. As far as mask goes, I mean, if you think it does some good and if you feel like it protects you, then, then wear a mask. I don't have a problem with it. The problem is that wasn't good enough. The mask, in a large part, to some extent, is all about creating fear, right? I mean, the left has been out there for a long time. Anything they can do to spin this up and create as much fear and anxiety as possible. That's a big part of what the plan is here, before November the 3rd, to make people feel insecure about their health and their physical safety and everything else. And that's kind of what's going on. So, and evidence of that is initially they told us, well, don't wear a mask. You probably get more likely to get infected if you wear a mask because you're touching your face and stuff all the time. And they said, no, wear a mask. You wear a mask so you don't get coronavirus. And then they realized that wasn't going to be good enough because people like me were like, well, I'm not worried about coronavirus. If I get it, I'm not going to get sick from it. If I do, I'm going to get, I'm going to get minor cold and flu symptoms for a couple of days. I'm not going to run around with the mask on all day. I'm fine. And they said, well, no, it's not for you. It's to protect your neighbors. It's not for your health. It's for for their health. So they wanted to guilt you into wearing a mask. So
Right.
now if you don't wear a mask, you're a bad person. You don't care about your neighbors. You don't care about other people. They needed that to make sure that they could guilt you into wearing the mask. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with people wearing a mask if they want to wear a mask. If I go into a private business and they say, hey, our rule is you have to have a mask on if you want to come in here, that's fine with me. I have the option of putting a mask on and going in, or going shopping somewhere else. I'm okay with that. That's their call. That's their business. But the government trying to make me wear a mask, and where's the science behind the mask? To be honest with you, started off and we needed an N95 mask, which I get. N95 mask filters out small stuff, including particulate stuff, the size of this virus and things like that. But really, is there any science out there that shows that running around with a bandana around your face actually makes any difference? I guarantee you, this air's just going right through that thing like nothing. I mean, it's just I think
so we're making it hot and muggy on the inside of that mask. So what is that cultivating germ wise?
Yeah, who knows, right? I mean, I don't know what the long-term consequences of that are, but it's definitely uncomfortable, and it's difficult to breathe through sometimes, and it's just I think personally that that most of it is unnecessary. I mean, you might want to wear it if you're in a really crowded place. Maybe you're wearing on a plane. I don't know, but when you're out walking around, and certainly these people that that are in. This is what angers me. You see these videos of these people that are at football games, and there's a family, 2 or 3 of them sitting in the stands together, and there's nobody around them for like a 15-foot perimeter all around them. There's nobody. They're all by themselves in the middle of the stand, and some security guard, a police officer, comes up in the stands and drags them off and arrests them because they don't have a mask on. That's the kind of garbage that makes me worry about where we're headed in this country. That is the kind of stuff that should be scaring everybody. But
it's little things. You get complacent. Now we have to wear masks, exactly like you said. Guilt you into wearing something. Unfortunately, our flight attendants have become sort of the sky mask police. So they don't serve anymore. So all they're doing is walking up and down the aisle like an SAT test proctor. Hey, put that over your nose. Put it over your nose. And I'm thinking, I take a fart through 3 layers of clothes or something, and you're smelling it. How's that mask working for the virus?
Yeah, so I'm not completely discrediting masks, but I just honestly, they're all about the science, and there's nothing out there that says that if you're walking around with a t-shirt or a bandana around your face that it makes any difference in this, and it's just a way to create that image that, hey, we're not safe. Right.
Well, I appreciate you answering that question. I was thinking about that last night about the mask. You're a doctor. I wanted to ask you about masks. So anyway, I got my answer.
Yeah.
You have to go, or you got one story about Iraq that makes you laugh, like when we were smoking cigars up on top of the tower and watching football. That was actually kind of fun. It was a little relaxation from the stress of the day.
No, that's pretty cool. I mean, that was one of the highlights of the day is, sitting up there and, drinking near beers and smoking cigars, because we obviously couldn't have any alcohol there. So we just drank near beers and smoked cigars, that. And then I remember the HESCO beach that we had over where I live. We built a little beach on top of some HESCO barriers. And we had lawn chairs up there, and, it was covered in sand on the top, and you'd sit up there and sit out in the sun and, like you're out on the beach. And we actually, we had a little
golf course.
We had a tee box up there. We drove golf balls off of until I think right before I got there, or right as I got there, one of the guys that was out there drove a golf ball and almost hit the CG out there. And I think they shut our tee box down.
I remember just the funny stuff when you're walking around, I remember the good stuff. People ask me, do you ever have any scary stuff? And I think the closest I ever came to dying in Iraq was the little porta potties we had down there by the crack house.
Yeah.
The 6 of them. I had gone down there that morning. I was sitting on the pot when 122 missile came in, and it hit on the other side of the HESCO by the flight line, but the concussion rocked the porta potties. And so here I am in this porta potty getting rocked back and forth. And all I'm thinking to myself, I hear crap, other words, but people were shouting in the porta potty, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, great. How did your husband die? Well, we found your husband with shrapnel in his neck with blue juice all over him, covered in crap.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not the way you want to go for sure. Yeah.
No, man. That's not the
Yeah.
way I want to die. You'd go in there with your magazine, not to read, but to kill the flies, because it was what 130 degrees. So you did your business pretty quick as you're sitting there. Well, I wish I had an assault gun, one of those. I've got that little assault gun you fill
Oh
up.
yeah, to kill the flies. Yeah.
Yeah, kill flies. I
That'd
would
be
have had
really
fun
cool.
sitting there. I probably would have spent more time in the potty. But
Yeah. Yeah, no,
porta
it was
potty.
great. Yeah, that's one of the things too. I tell people, like, you don't realize it, but I mean, they shot rockets at us, pretty regularly or whatever, But I remember one of the things that was really kind of surreal for me. I remember being in our resuscitation tent one day. We got a whole bunch of casualties at once. We had like probably 5 guys in there that were critically injured, and everybody was running around. There was all kinds of commotion, and the nurses were putting IVs in. I was trying to get the airway stuff ready to intubate them, and everybody was just we'd been there for a while, so everybody knew what they were doing. We were like a fine old machine, but a lot of clatter, a lot of chatter and stuff. Everybody moving around, and then all of a sudden they started shooting rockets at us, and you heard that loud crack they make,
Yeah.
boom, and then I remember I looked up, and the first one that hit didn't hit too far from our tent, and it made like a loud cracking noise, right? And I looked up, and the light that was above the table, there's a little bit of dust coming down from the light, right? And everybody was dead quiet, right, for just a second, and then just like a couple of seconds, and everybody went right back to baseline and started moving around again. I swear to you, there's an episode of MASH that's exactly like that. It was so weird because we're in a tent, we're operating on canvas litters, right?
Right.
And you could smell the gunpowder smell when the rocket hit permeating through the tent. And that was actually the day I think they hit our chapel and set our chapel on fire. And we went outside, the chapel was burning or whatever. But it's crazy because I was just thinking to myself, wow, this is just like being in MASH. I mean, it was like everything was very similar. The care we provided is head and shoulders above what they provided back then, but the environment, the setting wasn't a lot different.
I remember the chaplain. He was up there smoking a cigar with us one day, and he goes, "Taco, how come I never see you at church?" And I go, "Hey, I stand up here every night and I say a prayer when I watch the sunset. As it sets, I know that it's rising to my wife's face, and I say a little prayer. But let me ask you something. You know what IDF stands for, chaplain?" And he goes, "Indirect fire." And I go, "Yes, indirect fire. That means that the chuckleheads are over there in Fallujah looking down the street, and they go, yeah, this street runs parallel to the base. And they set up those 122 millimeter rockets, and they spray and pray. They just light them off. It goes off. It hits the base. We go, bighorn goes off. I go, they can't aim that. And yet they've hit the chapel twice. So what does that tell you?
They hit that chapel 2 or 3 times. I was surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, Muhammad's got the chapel dialed in or whatever, man. But that's the most likely place to get hit by a rocket is the chapel. There was that poor girl. She was doing pull-ups right next to the chapel, and she was the only wounded person because a shrapnel hit and sliced her arm open. She had to go home, and everyone was joking. She wasn't even there long enough to get the campaign medal for 30 days. She got a Purple Heart, no campaign medal.
Yeah. Yeah, the chapel was full of Marines right before that last one hit and set it on fire, and they just left, and then that rocket hit the chapel and set the whole thing on fire. It was kind of crazy, but
yeah, it is crazy how that happens. That was good times, man. It really was. It was some fun people. You remember all the old airplanes that were around and whatnot?
Oh yeah, I got some pictures of us standing on those.
On the tail of that Meg. I took that picture of you. We were out running. I took that picture of you on the that Meg 29. And then I went out and stole all the pieces and parts off. As a matter of fact, I still have this. This is that blade, titanium blade off the Meg 29 engine I took out of the junkyard. That scrapyard, going around, digging around, looking for stuff. All the tanks. I mean, I loved it. It was like a kid in a candy store running around the airplanes, the tanks. Except you didn't want to pull the ejection handle because I think they were still armed.
Yeah. Remember there used to be a coffee shop over on the other side, the Black Sheep or something, and it had a big fuel bladder set up as a swimming pool?
Yes.
You remember that? Yeah.
Yes. And we were talking about the Army. The Air Force guys would take off in their C-130s, and they would light off their chaff and flares because of the fire pit, the burn pit, which I still haven't registered for. I need to.
Yeah.
But they set the Army guys' tents on fire. And then they had the gall to call me up and go, hey, we need confirmation. Our guys took an SA-7 inside the wire. And I go, what? Yeah, we're putting them in for a Distinguished Flying Cross. What are you talking about? Nobody's shooting at airplanes inside the wire, man. Yes, they took an SA-7. I go, no, those idiots left their chaff and flare stuff on. They took off and they detected the burn pit and it automatically fired the stuff off. Oh, by the way, the Army's looking for you guys because you burned down half their tents. Oh, the Army guys were pissed. They were pissed. Yeah, that was. I mean, good times back in Iraq. I think it was more just being with the guys. You know, it sucked. Enjoy. You remember, embrace the suck. It sucked so bad, but it sucked together. We were all together. You know, no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Good times. All right, brother. Well, listen, man, you have a great one, and I guess this time we really will say thank you, Admiral Ronny Jackson, for joining the
Thanks.
Tales with Taco.
Thanks.
You want to come back on again, man, after November? I'd love to have you, sir.
All right, man. We'll do it. Thank you.
All right, brother. Hoorah.
See ya.
Oh, my God. We had so many times. I mean, you think about Iraq and Afghanistan and telling my wife, why do I want to go back? Well, why I want to go back? It's because I was with guys like Ronny and friends with multiple other Army officers, Marines. We had a great time. There were a lot of stories. As a matter of fact, I've got a young kid who, he's probably on Facebook watching this right now. He's driving trucks around, manual. He's driving 18-wheelers around. He was a young Lance Corporal at the time, and we used to mess with him. So one day I called up Gunny over on the flight line over at the helicopter squadron. I called up a Gunny over at Mal's. I called up a warrant officer somewhere else. And I sent this kid on a wild goose chase to drive around Iraq. Looking for a left-handed metric crescent wrench. And he's like, a what? And I said, I need a left-handed metric crescent wrench to be able to get the engine apart, that Russian engine that I stole the blades off of. So do me a favor, go see Gunny Smith over at HMLA. Go see those guys. So he goes and drives over there. Gunny sends him over to Mal's. Mal sends him over to some Army unit. You know, we had this thing pre-located. This kid spent all day, and then he comes back, and I'm like, man, I'm so disappointed. You didn't get me the wrench I needed. What are we ever going to do? Sir, I'm so sorry. Anyway, we had fun back in the day. You guys have an awesome day, and I will definitely catch up with you all next time. Thanks again for joining Tall Tales with Taco. Hoorah.